Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, or morning, afternoon, whatever time it is for you. I'm Murph. Today we're gonna here to talk. Jesus Christ! All right. Today we're here to talk about a little bit of store farming and all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna try to knock out two videos for you real quick because it's Friday night. I've got to do blog posts still. I'm not even gonna do a fucking blog post video, guys. Follow the blog post on your own. If you have any questions, don't understand anything, pop it down in the comments. We'll talk about it then. Um, I don't really want to do blog post videos anymore because one, it's not reliable content. Sometimes they're literally 2 paragraphs long, like I think the last one I did or 3 weeks ago, whatever. And two, anybody can make it. It's lazy content. I don't want to do lazy content for you guys. I would rather put out 1 or 2 videos a week for you of good quality content rather than just fucking vomiting out bullshit that you guys don't need or that you guys can figure out on your own, right? You guys can read, I assume. I don't mean to offend anybody if you can't read in this video, but if you can read, I don't need to read a blog post to you, right? I don't want to insult your intelligence. Y'all can read it yourself. If you're confused about how things work, drop it in the comments. We'll talk about it. That's how we're going to handle blog posts from now on. I didn't plan that, but I just decided that. Cool. Anyways, we just got done doing our campaign node farm priority video. Today, we're going to cover our store farm priorities as well as talk about kind of how I like actually not just like the actual character shard priority, but how I specifically spend each like resource in these stores. So it's not gonna be like a full resource deep dive video. I've already done one of those before. Nothing's changed. Go back in further down in my video feed. A few months back, we talked about resources like cores, gold, all that shit, training mats. We're gonna talk about like just specifically each of these stores and how I kind of go at them philosophically. It's not philosophically, but it's been a long week. It's been a very long week, which is why I haven't put out videos in a few days, even though I promised I would. So I apologize for that. So starting off, first thing I want to talk about is the regular supply store, the main store. So typically what you get here, first node, you get tier 2, tier 3, tier 1 ability materials, whatever you need. Honestly, whatever level you're at, and whatever like they're gated at different levels for your account. So as your account levels up to a higher level, you'll when you're level, I don't know, 20 and you unlock the store for the first time, you're not getting tier 2, tier 3 ability materials in the store. Maybe you're getting tier 2, I don't remember. But as you level up, you'll unlock the ability to maybe there's a tier 2, maybe there's a tier 3 in here. There's no option at a tier 4. At a certain point earlier on in the game, if you have gold saved up, it's worth buying T3s when you don't have enough saved up. But I mean, by the time you hit like level 70, 75, and you're running the ultimate 7s or Doom 1s, you're gonna have so many tier 3 ability mats, you're not gonna know what to do with them. I think I'm already on this account now, starting to get towards that like 1,000 point, and I've got several thousand on my main account. They're irrelevant. But when you're early on and you don't have that big stockpile, you can buy tier 2, tier 3 ability materials here if you're really in a crunch. Aside from that, the way I spend gold here, now I'm at level 76. Am I 76 or 77 right now on this account? 76. All right, 76. The way I go at this store is I will scroll through here, and if I'm specifically building a trait or a character where these catalysts or one, if my catalysts are super low, I will spend gold on them. But it's not really a thing I run into. What I really focus on is these uniques. And they actually added this really nice feature that I didn't notice. Maybe it was in patch notes and I didn't see it, or in a blog post. But they actually added a functionality now. What it used to do is it used to only show what characters currently need this. So like at the current gear tier that a character is at, does it need this unique? So as you can see, Sunfire, America Chavez, Philavel, Silver Surfer, they're all unlocked. They all need this currently in order for me to level them up to the next tier. Well, Silver Surfer not quite because he's not there yet. Because this is whatever, gear 13, 14, 15 unique. As you can see, Psylocke, and these other two, Iceman and Madeline Pryor, blanked on her name for a second, they also need it, but they don't need it yet, right? They're grayed out, which means that they're not at the current gear tier where they do need it, but they do need it eventually. So what you can actually do now, and what I am doing, is let me back up. What I used to do is I used to just look at the uniques, and if I know, okay, I'm building Sunfire, obviously he's a horseman supporting character, I need that. I'd go ahead and just click it and buy it, right? And I'm still doing that anyways. I'm still buying that for characters that I need to build that are going to have it. What this helps out with right here is, like, for instance, Psylocke is part of this new Death Seed team that's going to be coming out. They're going to be the 4th Horseman team along with Archangel. I don't have her built up yet. but I can see already she's going to need this, and I'm going to be spending this already on Sunfire. So what I can do is I can go ahead and start stocking up now, well before I go to build this character. So by the time I go to build her, I just have to worry about budgeting out my gold, my training mass in order to build her up. I don't have to worry about, you know, I hit level 75, but shit, I don't have enough uniques to take her up or anything else like that. Moving on, we're good on all this stuff, right? Here's another unique. This is a unique for Wong, right? I'm currently leveling and building Wong at the moment. Obviously, I need this. You need 12 for gear 13 and 24 for each 14, 15. So we need more. Let's buy that. This. This is like the unique like filler thing for certain traits. We don't really need to build any of these characters, so I'm not worried about it. How about this? Wolverine. Not building him right now. We're not building any of these characters on this list, so we're not worried about it. Now, the epic gear materials are where it gets interesting. You shouldn't have any issue farming out catalysts for it. What you might have issues with is farming out like this trait specific gear down here, right? Like the advanced isomers, omnium ore, all this stuff typically goes to like these are used for mystic characters. This is skill, bio, I believe tech. You might run into shortages on this when you're kind of in the mid game. I typically do when I start like really pushing characters up. Especially if you're focusing on like one trait, like one team, like your horseman teams that all require the same gear, you can run into shortage for this. What I typically try to do is I will gauge this based off of how many like of these blitz purple orbs I have saved up. So if I have a bunch of these saved up, like I'm talking like over 100, 200, I won't even bother really buying these unless I'm over like under 200. Like I'm not buying these. I might consider buying these because I have plenty of gold left over. But anyways, too long, didn't listen. Really only buy these if you need to buy these. There's really no need to, especially once you start to hit like the later levels. Like my main account, I can't spend these purple orbs to save my life. Like I have no reason to because I have everything stockpiled so high from just running raids and pushing characters at higher gear tiers so much that I'm not pushing characters from like that gear 9 to 12. So I'm not using a lot of purple gear, so I have a lot stocked up. So I don't have to spend my purple orbs, so I have a lot of those stocked up. And you see, once you push past these choke points at certain levels, these resources add up. So earlier on, you can buy those if you have to, but I would recommend spending your purple orbs first. Now, if you don't have any purple orbs, you need the gear, buy it, obviously. Blue stuff gets kind of interesting because you only get blue orbs later in the game from like events. So if you start building up a lot of characters from scratch, you might have to buy some of these, but typically I don't touch them unless I'm under like 200, and they're so cheap, I don't mind just buying them from under 200. Same thing with these greens. Moving on from the main store, we're going to actually pull over to our spreadsheet that we had before. So this first table here is for our Blitz store. Now, again, the way we kind of are looking at this is we're looking at it from the meta, right? So we have Apocalypse or building for Apocalypse. To get Apocalypse, we need our Horseman teams. To get our Horseman teams, we need our Scourge teams. As an early to mid game player, if you don't have your Horseman teams unlocked, our meta looks like this. I've said this in like a million videos, but I'm just going to cover it real quick. Your Scourge teams come first, building them so you can unlock your Horseman teams. Horseman teams are a higher priority, but in order to get them, you need your Scourge teams. That's why they're flip-flopped. So that's what we're basing this store farm priority off of. So first off in the Blitz store, there's one Horseman character period in here, and these are built in kind of tiers right now. But within the tiers, there's a little bit of movement you can do. So She-Hulk is the only Horseman supporting character you can farm out of the Blitz store. So she's a fair investment for you to use all of your Blitz credits on in order to max her out first. However, she's not going to help you in really any other game modes except for like maybe Dark Dimension City if you're trying to build that with no fat on your roster. Aside from that, we've got Spider-Man and Miles Morales. Now, they're both web warriors. They're both needed for the Pestilence Scourge. I need water because my throat's drying up. So they're both web warriors, both using the Pestilence Scourge. They're a very safe like first character to invest in. So I would highly recommend them first. And then aside from that, they're also part of your bio raid team currently. So that's more functionality for them, more value. As well as Shang-Chi's up here because he's just a very strong character in general. He's city. He's like a staple for Dark Dimensions. He's part of your skill raid team. He is also just a strong character in general. You can use him for Hero City. Those are both tags for Scourges. And with that skill tag as well, skill and tech are kind of the two like free-for-alls when it comes to building characters because there's no horseman characters that use those tags. So you can freely invest in those characters without taking away from your horseman teams, which means you can build Shang-Chi up to use in like Dark Dimension 4 and 5. Now, Morbius is only up here just because he's a new character and he's also a Dark Hunter, which is like the only SAC team you can use for nodes 5 and 10 in the Pestilence Saga. Um, and the way, well, let me get further down into this too. So that's kind of the first tier, right? And all these guys have moved up on this tier list simply because one character has moved considerably lower, and that's Gamora. The reason Gamora has dropped was originally she was so high because Infinity Watch was a very, very lucrative team for you to build early on as an arena team. However, that team is more or less fallen by the wayside. I would rather build something like Wakandans early on that's going to have more staying power in the meta later on, because Infinity Watch is very quickly being phased out by teams and game modes that are killing that revive once mechanic, which effectively kills that team. So they're slowly falling out of the meta. Actually, they're quickly falling out now. They've been slowly falling out for about the last year. Coffee's my lifeblood. My throat is killing me right now. And I'm talking a lot. There's a lot of information and not a lot of time in this video. So, in the second tier, aside from Gamora, we've also got Electro and Rhino. The reason they're here is because you can use them for the Spider-Verse and the Sinister Six tags in order to unlock Shuri. Now, what I would recommend with them, because Sinister Six is not a good team and it's not worth investing in, is you just farm them out to 5 stars just so you can get your Shuri unlock and then forget about them. Aside from that, you've got Agent Coulson, and again, he's like a lot of these characters that are on here in order for their legendary unlocks. They're garbage characters, but they're worth farming out because Blitz is one of the fastest avenues for you to farm out stars on characters. And Agent Coulson, because he's in the Blitz store, you can farm him out for Iron Man, and it's going to be one of your fastest farms if you're really trying to push Iron Man. Now, Iron Man is part of the Bionic Avengers, which is going to be your tech raid team. Again, like I said earlier, tech you can build without worrying about horsemen. 2, he's also part of your tech raid team. So that's why he's up here. Agent Coulson himself is not important, but the character he can unlock, Iron Man, is very, very important for you. Now, aside from that, in this tier, we've got Kree Royal Guard and Silver Samurai, because they're both going to be like required for your Omega Red unlock or for you to run Omega Red. And honestly, these guys can be moved down to here because, as I mentioned in my last video, Omega Red and the entire Weapon X team, as awesome as they are, they're just not as important right now as Horseman characters, so they kind of fall by the wayside. And then further down here, some other changes we've got from our last video. Ant-Man has dropped down considerably just because Jubilee, as great of a character as she is, that Mutant Raid team is getting phased out with this upcoming Death Seed team. So really, Jubilee's not going to be that important in the future. So building her right now is not going to be important. I would rather build up Unlimited X-Men and then start building up Psylocke and Magneto for that Death Seed team, rather than invest in Jubilee and the rest of the Astonishing X-Men. So with that being said, that's kind of the tier list and what's changed. I'm not going to cover the rest of these guys because, I mean, the majority of the characters in these stores, just like in the campaign nodes, are garbage once you get past, you know, the first handful of characters, and they're really not worth considering farming. Now, the way I would go about philosophically farming these characters is I would first off, like, unlock Spider-Man Miles Morales, maybe Shang-Chi if you want to, and then I would start target farming one of them at a time up to 5 stars, target farm the rest to 5 stars. Like, I would farm Spider-Man, Miles Morales up to 5 stars each, and then pick one, push it to 7 stars. Now, once you kind of get like Spider-Man, Miles Morales, She-Hulk, Shang-Chi, all these characters up to 7 stars, the rest of these characters, unless you want to target farm like Electro, Rhino, and Agent Coulson for these legendary unlocks for Shuri and Iron Man, once you get those to like 5 stars, I would honestly just spend all of your Blitz credits on Blitz orbs until a better character comes out in them. Because one, that's the only way you can get Morbius, which he's not that important, to be honest. But that's kind of what I was doing before when Silver Samurai was in the orb. And also, Blitz character shard purchases cost 500 credits a piece, and the orbs themselves cost 350 shards a piece. So, or 350 credits per piece. So, basically, when you're farming out the orbs, you're spending 350 credits for 5 character shards. When you're buying direct, you're spending 500 for 5 character shards. So opening the orbs, while you might not get what you want, it is the long-term most efficient way for you to farm out. And typically, I mean, like, my account's 76. I still don't have all of these characters maxed out at 7 stars yet. So you've got a lot of time before you got to start worrying about that. But when you start coming to events where like you're blitzing like every 2 hours on rotation and you're getting all those free milestone rewards from whatever blitz event is going on, you're gonna get a very, very, very big pool of blitz credits to just burn. So like usually once I get over like 5 or 6 thousand blitz credits, that's when I'll dump 3,500 into 10 blitz orb pulls. That way I can pull 10 orbs, use it more efficiently, and I've still got 1,500 credits left over. And that 1,500 credits is going to be 24 hours worth of store purchases. So that's 500 credits at each store reset. You get 3 resets per day. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about our raid store right here. So the raid store, what you really want to focus on first off is unlocking Killmonger, Sharon Carter, and Baron Zemo. The reason you want to unlock these, Killmonger and Baron Zemo are 2 of the best early game villains for you to use. Villains are kind of tough to come by in the very, very early game. Baron Zemo sees a drastic decrease in usability later on in the game. He's still a great plug and play character, but he doesn't have a whole lot of usability, and especially when it comes to Apocalypse, he's not important. Sharon Carter is going to be part of your Mega Red unlock with the Secret Avengers, and it's also part of your skill raid team, so that's why she's important. And the other 2 characters I have on this tier here are Yo-Yo and Mysterio. Yo-Yo is the same as Agent Coulson, part of your shield characters for your Iron Man unlock. And also she's Inhuman, so you can use her as part of a SAC team of Inhuman characters for the Famine Scourge. Mysterio is on here because of the Shuri Invisible Woman unlock. So these 2 characters, just like Rhino, Electro, and Phil Coulson we talked about, I would farm them direct when you're trying to like quick build your teams to unlock those legendary characters. But aside from that, I won't worry about it too much. And the way I look at my raid store philosophically, well, let me back up. Let me talk about the rest of it real quick. So Cloak has dropped down a few places. He's still a good city character and a good Mystic raid team character, but there are just better characters to invest in, and investing in him takes away gear from all your Darkhold characters, your Eternals, and everybody else. Kree Oracle for your Nick Fury unlock, for your Omega Red unlock, and Sabretooth for part of the Weapon X team have both dropped down a few places. Same reason that the other characters did for your Omega Red unlock and Weapon X team. Now, Ravager Stitcher moved up actually like 6 spots, and that's mainly because the Ravagers are part of the War Scourge Sacrifice team, so they're part of the Node 5 and 10 requirements. If you want to use a SAC team for them, you have to use Ravagers or Wave 1 Avengers. So you can run them with like Star-Lord, T'Challa. But aside from that, like the rest of these characters are really only used for like your monthly flash events in order to get more materials and resources. And that's just not as important. And so the way I philosophically go about my raid store farm is I will basically, as an early game player, I'll target farm these characters when I can for the unlock, as well as these. And then once I'm at a happy point with that, I will basically spend my raid credits on gear. Like, let your raid credits build up to like 15,000 or so. Once I build it up to 15,000, I'll typically buy raid orbs, and that's because the cost for a character purchase in the raid store is 1,400 credits, and that's a lot of credits. And the raid orb is only 900 credits, and you actually get 5 character shards in the middle column. So for 500 less credits, you're getting the same amount of character shards, but the 2 side columns, if I remember correctly, each issue 2 character shards. So you're getting 9 character shards for 900 credits compared to 5 character shards for 1,400 credits. So again, like the Blitz store, it's random when you pull an orb. You might not get what you want out of it, but you are farming more efficiently. And what I do to make sure that I have enough raid credits saved over for either character purchases if I need them or for gear purchases is I'll wait till I get to around 15,000 raid credits, and then I'll just buy 10 orbs. That way, it'll cost 9,000 credits, and I'll be down to about 6,000 credits or so, and that will still be enough for me to farm out, character shards or gear throughout the next 24 hours until my next raid reward comes through. So that's the raid store. The next one we're going to talk about is going to be your war store, and this one's going to be pretty quick. Your war store kind of sucks because, let's hop back into BlueStacks real quick. So I haven't been doing this for the other stores. So your war store, you only have 3 characters in here that you can pull from. It's random every single time the store refreshes, and there's a decent amount of characters to pull from. The majority of the war store characters are garbage. Your war store, in my opinion, outside of a few characters we'll talk about in a second, is better spent farming gear, because you can see you've got your legendary or your gold uniques here. You've got your gold like level 14, 15 catalysts and specific items, more uniques, And then you've also got a decent amount of purple gear in here too. However, I don't recommend spending these credits on purple gear or blue gear unless you like absolutely have to and you have a vast reserve of them left over, because you're better off spending them on these more expensive, more important pieces, as well as characters. And when it comes to characters, all we're really worried about first, Maria Hill used to be the top and the only character to farm early game. And the reason for that was, again, because of the Omega Red unlock with Secret Avengers, and she was part of your skill raid team. The reason she's dropped down 2 spaces is just because like she's still an important character. She's still tier 1, but Echo and Scarlet Spider were added in here since the last time I did this video. And Echo is part of the Young Avengers team, which is your Scourge team to unlock Rogue, and she's phenomenal. She really ties that team together. If you don't have her, you can run Miles Morales with it, but it's just not nowhere near as good. And Scarlet Spider is part of your Web Warriors, which should be your early raid team, like your first raid team you build, and it's part of your Bile raid team for Doom nodes, and it's also part of your Pestilent Scourge required characters for nodes 5 and 10. So these 2 characters, when it comes to the actual Apocalypse meta, are more important than Maria Hill, but Maria Hill is still important because she's part of that skill raid team, and she's a phenomenal character in general. And you can also use her in various nodes for like global and skill during Scourges as well. Now, Sif is part of Heroes Guardians and is required for the War Scourge as part of your nodes 5 and 10 teams. You can also use her to unlock Black Bolt as well, which is why she finds herself this high up on the list, because Black Bolt's not that important. It's a legendary unlock, but she's part of the required characters for you to unlock your Red Hulk. So that's your first tier, and I would really recommend like farming them directly until you unlock them at a base. And then I would really just pick like 1 or maybe 2 of these characters to like target farm. But you might find yourself at a point where you're getting so much war credits in, and because the nature of this store is very random, these characters might not show up for days at a time, or maybe even like once a week. You never know. It depends how RNG rolls in your favor. But if you find yourself having a large stockpile of credits, obviously you might just be able to just pick up any of these whenever they pop in. But if you find yourself starved for credits, really I would focus on like whichever one of these characters is more important for you at the time and just focus on that one. Now the next tier of characters is Longshot, Cable, X-23, and Bishop. And really the only reason these characters are in here are because they are 3, well, actually 2 out of these 4 are global hero mutants, which means they currently fit the current Cosmic Crucible meta with this season. Longshot is part of your Adam Warlock unlock. Again, Infinity War is not as important. He can honestly possibly be, he'd probably be down in this tier if it wasn't for the current Cosmic Crucible meta, as well as X-23. Cable is here because he does have some staying power in the arena meta where he's able to speed boost your own team. Bishop is here because even though we have Death Seed coming, we only have 2 Death Seed characters, so some of these characters you're gonna have to, or some of these like mutant raid teams are gonna have to fill with other characters. He's still a mutant raid character, but farming him and building him is gonna take away gear from your Unlimited X-Men team and from your Death Seed team eventually. So I would farm and build him at your own risk. Now the rest of these characters, Mr. Sinister, Carnage, Ghost, they're not that important. Mr. Sinister is a raid character. He's a good villain mutant and a good villain global character to use in like Scourges. Carnage, symbiotes are an amazing team, but right now with the Apocalypse meta, it's just difficult to build them when you have to build your Web Warriors and your Gamma team as well. Ghost has fallen considerably down this list, and that's mainly because, like Ant-Man, Jubilee is just not as important, and Pimtech is irrelevant outside of unlocking Jubilee. And I'm not going to talk about the rest of these characters. Cull Obsidian's awesome, but I can't justify farming out Black Order with all this other stuff. I would love to farm out Black Order. Next up, we have my favorite store to talk about here, and it's the Arena store. So your Arena store, it has like the largest character pool outside of your Blitz store, and there's a lot of good characters in here. There's a few great characters, but there's a lot of good characters in here, which sucks because Arena credits are not as like, they don't come in as easily as the rest of these credits unless you're very, very high in your arena. So that's why being high in your arena is important, along with getting a lot of cores in daily. So the biggest addition here from the last video is that Doctor Strange Heartless is currently in your arena orb. Now, this is the only store in the game that has 2 farmable Horseman characters in it. So you've got Doctor Strange Heartless and Scarlet Witch. So what I recommend right now is if you already have Scarlet Witch unlocked, you already have Ghost Spider unlocked, and you should if you've been playing this game for 6 months to a year because we had so many free shards coming out of raid milestones. You already have Heimdall unlocked. You already have M'Baku unlocked. You already have Shuri unlocked. If you don't have Shuri unlocked, you can target farm Swarm and Vulture here to 5 stars like the rest of these characters in order to unlock her. But I would say once you have like these characters unlocked and at a point where you're fine with them, I would literally just dump everything into the arena orb for now, because the arena orb sucks. I'm going to tell you right now. It's fucking horrible spending 800 credits for one orb for you to get. A lot of these characters are like as there's a lot of good characters in here, there's a lot of fucking horrible characters in here too. And spending that 800 credits in the arena store on an orb to potentially get, aim researcher, it feels really, really bad. It feels really, really good when you get Doctor Strange Heartless, because obviously he's part of your Darkhold team, which is not just a Horseman team, right? Horseman teams are the most important thing right now for unlocking Apocalypse. He's also part of the arena meta right now. And arena, like I've said, is the most important game mode for you already. So unlocking him and building him is going to be crucial to your account's progress. So once you get to a comfortable point, I would just farm orbs and hope that you get Doctor Strange Heartless. And this might not be the best advice, but I would only do that after the rest of these characters. I'll talk about them right now. So M'Baku is incredibly important. He's part of your Wakandan team, which has also been recently announced as part of the Death Scourge required characters. And it's also Cosmic Crucible meta, and it's not seasonal meta like some of these other characters, like these hero mutants. It's they have Cosmic Crucible tags, they have Cosmic Crucible abilities. They're good for the entirety like lifespan of Cosmic Crucible. Scarlet Witch is the worst character on Darkhold and is the first character you pull out and start subbing in for the arena meta, but is ultimately still required for you to unlock Apocalypse, and her farm cost is 350 credits, which means you can farm her out considerably faster to 7 stars than any other character in the store that isn't 350 credits. Ghost Spider, again, Web Warriors, Pestilent Scourge, also part of your Bio Raid team. Very, very important character. Heimdall, honestly, probably belongs in the lower tier towards the top of it. And that's just because, again, Heroes Guardians, part of your War Scourge team to unlock Red Hulk, and it's also part of the Black Bolt unlock. Shatterstar only finds himself this high on the list because, if you have all these characters like unlocked and maxed out and you don't really know what to farm, you can farm him out in order to build your Cosmic Crucible teams for this season more powerful. It's the same thing as why am I blanking on his name? He was in the last story we talked about. No, yeah, Longshot. We talked about War last. So both those characters you can use for your current Cosmic Crucible teams, just because they have a seasonal affix to them that improves them. Quake, I wanted to put Quake this high on the list the last time around, and I didn't because she's a dog shit tier character in general. But I moved her all the way up here because, for the same reason as Phil Coulson, she is a very, very lucrative farm for you to build out shield characters in order to unlock Iron Man. You don't have to build her because the Iron Man legendary event is so easy to clear, but she is like the fastest character outside of the Blitz store to build for it. She's only 350 credits for a purchase. You can purchase her every single store reset. She's also got an Inhuman tag, so you can use her in order to unlock Ebony Maw, and you can use her in the Famine Scourge if you decide to build her as part of a SAC team for that Famine Scourge for nodes 5 and 10. Quake, honestly, is like the best to farm garbage character in the game, in my opinion, because you have so much usability just for getting her to 7 stars and unlocking different characters through different events, and ultimately she's worthless outside of unlocking other characters. After that, we got Dagger, who's dropped down just like Cloak has for the same reasons. Mordo has actually gone up a little bit in my rankings just because he was given the Dark Hunter affix, so you can use him for your Pestilence Scourges. Phyla-Vell dropped down quite a bit because Infinity Watch is dropping, in my opinion, and the rest of these characters are basically just either other legendary unlocks or monthly event characters for your flash events. Let's see, is there anything else to talk about here? That looked scuffed as fuck. I did that in the wrong order. Other sources to talk about. Cosmic Crucible. I only spend Cosmic Crucible credits on uniques and gear that I need. Coffee. Yeah, so Cosmic Crucible, if you're farming out gear 16 gear, or if you don't have that unlocked yet and you're farming out like gear 13, 14, 15 gear, save it for your uniques, because that's going to be the most important part here. And if you have to, you can spend it on these trait specific uniques. Like this is for bio gear if you have to, but ultimately I would not waste it on purple gear. There's so many other lucrative areas for you to farm purple gear, but outside of raid rewards, this is your best avenue for farming out like your gear 13 and up requirements for characters. And really, I say gear 13, but I would really focus this more towards like the gear 14, 15, 16, 17 push. Your red stars, don't bother spending dark promotion credits on anything except for your horseman characters. That's all I'm going to say about that. The rest of these for your silver and gold promotion credits, I would really just bank them up until you get to a point where you have like either Scourge team characters like your Young Avengers, your Web Warriors, whatever else, to get them stronger for those events, or for your Cosmic Crucible teams like your Wakandans, so you can get them stronger, or for your raid teams. So really, there's a lot of characters you can spend these on, but I would really balance it against how important is this team compared to all the game modes in the meta, and how important is this character for that team. So like, for instance, if you're building Young Avengers, I would rather put red stars into Squirrel Girl than I would into, I don't know, let's say Miss Marvel, maybe. So you kind of just weigh the requirements of the game in the game modes, and weigh the requirements of those characters within that team for those game modes. And that's going to cover it for today, guys. I know I threw a lot of information at you. This video is already 30 minutes long, and I didn't intend for it to be this long. If you guys enjoyed this, let me know. Drop a comment down below, like the video, subscribe so you don't miss any more, and stick around because there's more content coming.